Hello everyone, I'm Tim from Tim's PC, and I build custom PCs to suit anyone's needs or budget. Also live stream my builds and repairs for transparency and educational purposes. So if you'd like to get an awesome new PC and you'd like to see it put together live, send me a message today. Alrighty, so you can probably see a little bit of a scratch on my face. That's from our fucking puppy dog.
Yeah, we were playing.
She's got like, she probably needs her claws.
Yeah, she does.
Trimmed a little bit.
She likes to jump.
And she's got a bad habit of jumping on you. And I was crouched down at a bowls, and she decided just to jump in at me in the face, got me right in the face, bit my tongue a little bit. So if I sound a little bit weird when I'm talking, that's because I've got a freaking bite on my tongue and scratch my face from the stupid dog. No, she's don't mind me like bitching about the dog. I'm not. I harbour no ill will towards the dog. The dog was just trying to affectionately and enthusiastically come up to me for a cuddle. Basically, it had no idea it was going to hurt me.
She doesn't understand how big she is now.
No,
because
she's about a year old, and year old puppies. If you've ever had a puppy from a baby to an adult, you'll know that a year old dog is basically the size of the fully grown dog. However, it has the energy of the puppy, and the dog still hasn't worked out that its body is way bigger now. It still runs around and does things like it'll jump up on your lap, and you might have a large dog. It might not even fit on your lap, but the dog will still jump in your lap at 1 year old like it's a puppy, and it will sit there thinking it's still a puppy, still working out that it's now way bigger. Probably going, how come I don't fit here anymore? It doesn't make any sense.
Tim, Paul says, has Amber Heard been around your place, mate?
Amber Heard? Oh yeah, I know, right? I know. No, we rehomed a dog for a friend in a bad situation, and yeah, she's a very excitable. Very, very excitable. Yeah, very loving and affectionate dog, but very excitable, so she'll jump at you. So I probably should have been a little bit more careful with that dog being as spastic and high energy as she was before I crouched down. But that's on me. That's on me. I should know better. I'm the human. I'm the one with the big brain and can work things out.
I'm still covered in scratches and bruises from her too. So
yeah,
don't worry.
But you're easier to scratch and bruise than me, I think.
Yeah, I guess.
You seem to get scratches and bruises more often, babe.
Yeah. Paul says blink twice and you're being held against your will, Tim.
I know, right? I know. Nah, that's all good. That's all good. Alrighty, so tonight we're going to be building a pretty simple, low-cost gaming piece. Sorry, not gaming PC, streaming PC. So we're not going to be running any games on this PC. We're not even going to be running like capture cards or anything like that. All we're doing is streaming webcams via OBS and as just a general sort of office workstation. So the guy. His name's Dave. He might chime in the comments soon. I encouraged him to share his business because he's got a really creative, really interesting business that I think a lot of people would be really interested in, to be completely honest. So I hope Dave. Cool, I told Dave, yeah, you're free to join in the chat and you're free to
I have another friend
share a link to your page.
Stuff, so maybe I can
We'll leave it to Dave to reveal exactly what it is. I just wanted to hint at something exciting there. Alrighty. So what we've got is the Ryzen 5600G 6-core 12-thread CPU, but it has a built-in Radeon 7 GPU. So if it's just budget gaming that you need, or you're not going to be gaming, you're just going to be like running Windows applications and stuff like that. Not stuff like Blender or whatever, you know, not anything hectic like that. Just ordinary things in Windows. And OBS is just an ordinary app. It takes the video feeds and streams them on the internet. It's a pretty basic app. You don't need an RTX 3080 or any like crazy discrete GPU to run it. But the way this system is set up is that if Dave wanted to add a GPU for gaming, he could, sorry, a discrete GPU I should say, it's got a GPU. He could add a discrete GPU for gaming, and he has a 650 watt power supply here with a 5-year warranty. So that unit there's a good quality unit, and it'll enable him to add whatever graphics card he wanted. Or if in the future his PC needs increase, say 2-3 years down the track, this PC as is will be an attractive second-hand option for the price that it will be listed at, and someone could just quite easily add a high-end graphics card. Like you can add an RTX 3080 with this Ryzen 5 5600G CPU. That's not a problem. You're going to get 99% of your 3080's performance with that without spending any extra on the CPU. So one of the things that people sort of misunderstand, I guess it's a product of technology always changing. There was a time when it was like, if you want a game, you need the i7. So I get all these people who are like, come in, they're like, minimum i7, and when they tell me about what they're doing, I'm like, dude, that's not a modern i7. That's just an i5. You just think there's something wrong with that. In fact, an i3 will run what you want to run. But I won't offer you the i3 because I know that in your mind, you think that that's the same as the i3 that you owned 8 years ago. And they are not, by any stretch of the imagination, the same thing. It's not like the same CPU structure or anything like that. This is multiple models and generations, new designs, fundamentally new things. You can't compare any of the, like i3, i5, i7, i9, you can't compare them between different generations. You can kind of do it when it's a revision of that physical architecture by Intel. For example, 9th gen Intel Silicon and 10th gen Intel Silicon. They're basically the same thing, but they released an i9 that had 20 cores instead of the i9 in 9th gen being 16 cores. But fundamentally, it was the same design of the CPU, so you can kind of compare those two. So like an i3, the i3s are roughly the same, the i3s are roughly the same. Obviously, the newer ones are better, etc. But if you're looking at your i3 from ages ago, you need to understand that i3, they don't even make a CPU like that anymore. Even the cheapest, shittiest CPU these days is like way better than that. And that i7 that you used to own back then, that's an i3 these days. Because a lot of the i7s back in the day were 4 cores and 8 threads, right? That's what a current i3 is. It's 4-core, 8-thread CPU. So, yeah, you're basically looking at an i3 being the equivalent of an old i7. So a lot of people think that they need a lot more CPU than what they actually need.
And George says, hey guys, I'm counting the days.
Hey George, how you going? George has, so George has just chimed in on YouTube, and George has probably the most expensive gaming PC that I've ever built, due to the inclusions of DDR5 and you know, some of all the new latest stuff. So that should be coming up on Saturday night. But I've had a little bit of a delay with the cooler. He got a Corsair cooler with the addressable screen. It was listed as in stock in Queensland, and then when I went to order it, they were like, "Oh, it's an inventory error. We have to order it from Melbourne." So that's still coming up. And if I check the app on my phone that tells me when all my deliveries are coming in, it's currently saying Monday next week, but it's saying it's at Red Bank, I believe.
Oh.
So
That's like
sometimes it's not. It gives you like, it overestimates the delivery just to be sure, so they don't get complaints.
That's just like 40 minutes down the highway.
Hopefully it comes tomorrow. If George is still really keen for the build on Saturday night, I can quite easily, because I have, due to that Mod 5 case and a few of the problems we have, I have another Corsair cooler that I can just use temporarily. I can just put this on. It's going to be more or less the same performance with this radiator. This is bigger than a 240. This has got 140mm fans on it, so it's extra wide. So we can just use that on Saturday night if you were keen for it on Saturday night, if I don't actually have that exact cooler with the addressable screen for you. So, sorry, that was, I mean, I'm going to say sorry, I'm going to apologise for it. It's not my fault though, like, when I went to order it, it was showing as in stock in Queensland, but it was an inventory error, and it wasn't actually in stock in Queensland. So sometimes that can happen with things. So, alrighty, well, I think I've done enough talking about all sorts of bullshit tonight. So let's get started. We've got the, as discussed, we've got the Ryzen 5 5600G. We've got the Gigabyte B550M DSH3 AC, so it's got built-in Wi-Fi and Bluetooth as well. We haven't got anything stupid on a motherboard, because beyond it, once you get to a certain point with motherboards, especially if you're only installing like a Ryzen 5, there's a real diminishing return on investment in spending more. They might look fancier and stuff like that, but they won't get you extra performance out of your CPU. However, you don't want to buy like an i9 and the cheapest motherboard you can possibly buy, like one of those ASRock HDV motherboards that are real basic and stuff. They're designed for i5s, i3s, and Celeron and Pentium CPUs, not anything high end, because there's no cooling, there's no heat sinks on the MOSFET VRM coprocessors, which is all that shit that's like around the CPU. You don't have to fully understand it technically, but I'll explain it to you like this. Everything around, if you put a high-end CPU on a motherboard, then that puts stress on everything on the motherboard around it, because the CPU is high-powered and high-demanding. So everything else gets hot on the motherboard. So if you buy a high-end CPU, you can't put it on the cheapest possible motherboard you want. So motherboard choice is like a balance between the CPU and the use case and stuff here. And you'll see me use a lot of these Gigabyte or MSI B550s with the built-in Wi-Fi there. They've got heat sinks on the MOSFET and VRM there for the CPU, and I've tested them even with Ryzen 9s, and they behave themselves, as long as you don't overclock or anything like that. And as discussed, we got an MSI 650 watt power supply, bronze rated efficiency, and it's got the 5-year warranty. And we're going to be putting it in a nice full-size Antec D600 flux case. It's a high airflow case. It has included RGB fans on the front there. That's not the motivation why we chose this case. This case just has really, really, really good thermal performance, and it's just an all-round good option that I can offer to basically any customer who wants a PC from me, and it's going to tick all the boxes for them. If they don't have much of an aesthetic
I really
choice.
like this case, but there's the other one as well.
There's the D700. It's just a different front. It's just a different front. It's the exact same case inside. It just has a different front.
Mesh front.
So you can get it with a mesh front or this open panel front here.
I like the way to design one better. In my opinion. But that's just my opinion. They're both just as good as
They're both equally good cases. Yeah, and they're not overly expensive cases. No. The one thing is, for enthusiasts, is you've got this back panel that with an air intake there, sort of like a Liam Lee Dynamic 11, and you can put a couple of fans mounted to the bottom there. So if you wanted to make sure airflow was absolutely perfect, and there was fresh air being blown up onto your graphics card and stuff like that, this is a great case for that. So if I sell this case to someone who is probably wanting to upgrade their computer over time, I pretty much can't go wrong with putting their initial build in this case. This ticks all the boxes. 360mm all-in-one liquid cooler radiators can be mounted to the top. Plenty of room at the top there from the motherboard. There's no conflict with the top of the motherboard and the memory and stuff with the radiator and the fans. You don't have those sort of problems with this. You do get an included back fan, and you even get one included reverse fan that you can mount to the bottom to suck in air from here to blow onto your graphics card. I normally don't actually add the reverse fan into these builds, just because it adds a bit of noise and stuff like that, and if I don't think it's necessary due to the airflow dynamics, I don't install them. However, it's a nice thing for a customer to have as an option if they want to upgrade and do their own things after they buy it off me. So you'll see me use it. If you don't have much of a preference in case and stuff like that, you'll probably see me suggest something like this. You can pick any case you want with me. I only object if there's a problem with the case that I know about that you might not be aware of. If it's just what you like and your style, I won't object. The only time I say something about a product is if I've had problems with it in the past, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to buy that one, sort of thing. Yeah. What have we got? Got some comments?
George says I can't wait. All good, no worries, don't apologise.
Yeah, no, it's all good. George will probably be more than happy to wait to get the right thing, because we went and made sure everything was right. George, you know, I was talking earlier about, you know, what you need and all that. George has got something way more than what he needs, but that's part of what this is. He specifically wants a PC like that, an absolute fuck off spec PC. And he's got the budget, and he's keen for it.
Not?
Yeah. There's some other stuff going on in his life. He's keen for this. So
if I could do it, I would.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm more than happy to build it, because it makes great content for the channel. I don't make that much more from it than any other PC build, but like it makes good content for the channel. Yeah.
Fiona says good evening, Tim Christine. Late one tonight.
Hey Fiona, yeah, no, it won't be too bad, because this is a relatively simple build. That's why I've spent a lot of time talking about some other random shit to do with this.
Tim, all the boys says video. Fiona says, what have you done to yourself, Tim?
Oh mate, as I explained earlier, we have a new dog, and she blindsided me with her claws in the face there. So that was a bit of fun.
Will the boy says cat scratch. No, dog scratch.
Dog scratch. Yeah, we've got a new, very hyperactive dog.
Very large, hyperactive dog.
Yeah, and she's like one, so she doesn't realise that she's big yet. She still thinks she's a little puppy. And bent down to like, I don't even remember what I was doing, because I was blindsided by a dog in the face. But I bent down. I think I was just going to pick up her water bowl to fill up her water bowl.
She had no water. I was out there with you. She had no water, and you bent down to pick her water bowl up, and she was like, "Oh, Timmy!"
Alrighty. So we will need to remove the standard AMD mounting brackets. And this is the last generation of AM4, unless they do another generation that's like, I don't know. They're definitely, AM5 is definitely inbound. What's up?
Patrick, what did 20 do when it was hungry?
I don't know.
28.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that one before.
Oh, jeez. That's really bad.
Alrighty. So the trick to these AMD stock coolers is just to start to thread it on opposite corners.
All the voices in my new build, I'm going to use Raid cell cooler. Is that any decent? I'm not trying to overclock or anything. I just want to play some games.
So for Ryzen 5, yeah, Ryzen 5 and Ryzen 5000 series, Zen 3, not Zen 2. I'd still recommend a cooler for Zen 2, they get pretty toasty. But Ryzen 5, brilliant. No, you can just, if you're not overclocking and you're just gaming, the Wraith Stealth cooler is all you need as a minimum. If you've got the budget, you may as well put a better cooler on it, right? Because you'll probably get all of that money back on the flip side of the transaction when it comes time to sell it. Remember? A lot of people get too focused on the here and the now. They forget that every item... If you've watched Star Trek, the Ferengi rules of acquisition, man. Okay, there's 7 stages of loving and wanting and needing a product. And the final one is resale. And that's very prudent advice for the real world, especially when it comes to tech. Because at some point, what you have now, you'll want something better, and you'll go to sell what you have. So sometimes, depending on how long you want to own it for and stuff like that, sometimes spending a little extra is actually just going to make your life easier on the flip side. So if you're not really desperate for money, then sometimes when it comes to tech, it doesn't really make sense to go for the cheapest possible option. Alrighty, so we've got pre in place offsets and M2 screws. Need a different screw piece for that. And we don't have a graphics card going in here or anything, so both slots will be free.
Oh.
So very easy to add another SSD to this motherboard there, as you can clearly see.
Hey Ben,
Yeah.
if we ever need somebody to help with the her mum is actually training anxious and stress buggers.
Ah.
Do training and assessments and stuff. Should get her around to see Mooney.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, I think if Mooney gets a phone, that would be pretty good for her.
I think so. Oh shit.
Chip it away.
Just throw the memory around, it's
You don't
okay.
need that,
Just bash
right?
it around. That's alright.
Oh no, it's fine if you drop it.
No, don't worry. Nothing there was fragile enough to be concerned about that. If the RAM doesn't work, it wasn't because of dropping. Just FYI. Yeah.
And also how it went till the George build. I missed the start of the streams.
Ah, George's build, yeah. So basically I've got every single part for George's build now, but I'm still waiting on the specific Corsair cooler. So we'll probably, if it comes tomorrow, there's a chance it will come tomorrow. If not, it will come like Monday next week. So yeah, that will be the determining factor.
So,
Yeah.
Bully Boy says, yeah, I'm using Ryzen 5 5500. Is that any good?
Yeah, that's
going
fine.
Budget PC.
Yeah, Ryzen 5 5500, that's fine. Stock cooler, yeah, absolutely. We're already talking a CPU that was built with the budget-conscious gamer in mind, essentially.
Stealth cooler, so it's a little bit better than normal.
No, Wraith Stealth is the normal
is it?
cooler. That's what Ryzen call their CPUs. So CPU coolers, rather.
Oh.
The good one is the Wraith Prism.
Oh, that's what I'm getting confused with.
That's
Prism.
like a high-end air cooler.
Yeah.
I've got one over there on the case stackers.
Oh, jeez. Bully Boy says, anyway, have a good stream. I need to go to sleep now because I have an exam tomorrow.
No worries, man. Have a good night.
Good luck with your exam. I hate that shit.
Alrighty. Housefly. So these are non-modular power supplies, but that's alright, that doesn't matter. Whether they're modular or non-modular is not like the way that you can tell a good quality power supply from another. The main and best way to tell a shit one from a good one is the duration of the warranty. You might have to look a bit deeper when you get to the ultra high end where they're all 10-year warranties. But for the ordinary consumer buying power supplies of normal sizes, yeah, much easier just to go by the warranty duration. How long the company will replace it with a brand new one for you is pretty much the main thing. So these are the cables that we don't need here. So we'll just put a cable tie around these for now. Yeah.
Just turn 3.
Oh, true. There we go. So we'll mount the power supply face down as normal. So, and the only reason why you wouldn't want to do that is if you had an ultra budget PC and you needed the effect of the power supply fan to act as an exhaust fan to get a bit of extra airflow in there, or if your PC was on carpet. But if not, the reason why we do this is power supplies have a they cut off from overheating at lower temperatures than PCs. So if you've got like a really high-end PC, then if the power supply is internal and it gets really hot in there, then potentially it could shut off, and it won't be your CPU, it won't be your graphics card, it won't be your memory, it'll be your fucking power supply. So not ideal, and that's why you'll see pretty much all the case designs these days just have the power supply face down. Alright, so we just need a CPU and motherboard cable for this. We have these cables here from our RGB and fan controller as well. No. I'm just removing some of these little wire ties.
You need to put them all in bag so I can play with Buddy with them. He loves those things. Chuck him at him and he's like, ooh, he catches him. How'd you go? And some of those cable ties, I'm like, why are you putting cable ties? It doesn't need a cable tie, you're tying nothing.
Huh?
Oh, the cable ties that are in.
And we'll just put one cable tie just to keep those cables Yeah, man. Alrighty. Well, our case is all prepped and ready to go. Now it's time to get our board in. So we'll need our rear I/O shield. We've got our Wi-Fi antennas there, SATA cables. There we go. Oh, hang on. Got a couple of offsets to move here because I've got a micro ATX board and an ATX case. There we go. Okay. So now we've got a couple of bolts into our board. Bring out that CPU cable out the edge of our case. Up the edge of our case, I should say. got our front panel connectors down here. So for our power switch, reset switch, and the power LED button that comes on when your PC's turned on. USB 3 down the bottom, it's a big chunky, ugly thing. That's a fan controller. And our RGB. Finally, our motherboard. Three more. Oh, that one through. Pick a thread pitch on the bolts, select the angle of the screw thread. There are bolts that have the same look on the top, but with two different thread pitches. That's why you'll see me frequently fuck that up. Okay. So that was looking pretty good. You gotta remember to remove this sticky film that's on like glass panels and on the stuff on your motherboard. Yes, it's there for protection in shipping and protection, but it's not designed to be left there long term because the things that they cover are usually designed to be air cooled, like this glass panel. So you're basically taking something that's meant to be cooled and dissipate heat via the air and wrapping it in blankets. So not ideal. Alright, everything back here, there's no need for anything to be tied down there at all. I can just sit back as is. Oh, what's in the way there? Excellent. So, we're ready to see if she has a problem. This motherboard has 4 USB 3 and above on the back, so not going to be a problem. Yeah.
I took your advice when I chose my PS tonight for the Thermaltake 850 watt with a 10-year warranty.
Yeah, brilliant, brilliant. Thermaltake make excellent power supplies. I mean, most of the power supplies that you see that have 10-year warranties, they are excellent power supplies. But Thermaltake does have a reputation of making good power supplies.
Yeah,
at least they're ones that are like 80 plus bronze and above. While I have had one die, it's one, so it doesn't matter. All right, let's power on. I need a better fucking longer range wireless mouse, eh? Alrighty. So right there, that is exactly what we want to see the first time we turn on a computer without a boot device. So the LED button on the case is the reset switch. I haven't hooked that up as an LED controller. You can control the software, you control the lighting with software that I'll install. Gives you a few more options and stuff like that. And you're not stuck there pressing it like 1,000 times to go on to the mode that you want. So I find that's a lot more convenient and easy for people. Alrighty, I might want to unhook my display port from my PC so I can actually see the PC on my screen. There we go. So now, I never enter product keys while I'm live for obvious reasons. So I'm going to be sitting there typing it out and press enter before me, guaranteed. This is our OneDrive, it's got a 500 gigabyte NVMe SSD. And so don't worry, this doesn't take long. This only takes a long time if you've got an old CPU and an old computer and you're trying to reinstall Windows. If you've got a modern CPU, it'll just like smash through it like this, basically. no considerable wait time. Compared to, oh man, the process of upgrading to Windows XP, that took ages. That took hours to do, to upgrade from Windows ME and 98 and stuff like that. Windows couldn't do anything, so I went to this DOS-based app to do all the formatting part of it. And real confusing for the end user. How old was I then? Like 12 or something like that. Yeah. That was just normal to me then. Operating systems were big things that had to be installed correctly and specially, and they took a long time. That was just what I thought. Fortunately, they've improved on that. So you might get this getting ready and getting devices ready screen come up on Windows if you change your graphics card or your memory or some other devices that you've got connected to it. And that's just Windows reinstalling the right drivers for the hardware that you're now booting on, because it was different to last time. Alrighty, the final part of our install now. This is where we set up the language and location and account settings for Windows. Keyboard layout, we use the US keyboard layout, it's the $. Some people, if they don't think about that, you might think it sounds obvious, but it's not necessarily obvious to everyone. Some people are like, hang on, United States, no, we go on the UK here in Australia. Blah, 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 blah. Alright, now that all that's done, we can plug in an internet connection. The reason I do that, because if I have an internet connection, it forces me to sign into a Microsoft account. And I don't want to sign into any account and sign out of it and do any of that sort of shit. I'd rather set the computer up without an account, and then the customer receives it, then they sign into their Microsoft account from their previous computer or whatever. Or they create a Microsoft account for the first time. And that way, any password that's on your computer is something that you set. It's not set by me or anything like that. So if it asks you for a password that you didn't set, like an administrator password, just press enter with a blank password, because I haven't put a password on. I had one guy call me up one time, real angry at me, like swearing and shit like that, and I'm just like, whoa, simmer down there, Sparky, I didn't even set a password, bro. You could just you could just press enter. And then he was like, oh shit, oh, I'm really sorry, blah, 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 blah. I thought you'd like locked me out of my computer, and I'm like, why the fuck would I do this, bro? If I sell computers, do you think I really want people calling me up for a password?
No, Tim, you're gonna make them pay extra.
Extra for the password.
Yep. Yeah, there's a $200 fee. Didn't you know that?
Awesome. Okay, so now we're in Windows. Pretty simple setup. We can get most of our stuff from Windows Update. Then this isn't a gaming PC, so we're just going to be installing.
George says, "Hey Tim, looking at the impressive list of accessories and extras that come with the ROG Maximus Hero motherboard. The ROG comes with Hyper 2M M2 card with heat sinks, for example.
Yeah. That's normal. Yeah, like they'll.
USB with utilities, ROG GPU card holder, and of course the keychain.
Yeah. I can send you. Yeah, I can send you all that. Trust me, I don't want that stuff from motherboards. I've got enough of it. Believe me.
Yeah, we've got like 3 keychains at the moment.
One cool thing from straight edge and Phillips head screwdriver that goes on your keys. I like that. I've always got a screwdriver on me if I'm
graphics card
somewhere.
came with the white gloves. That was pretty cool. There was one graphics card you got like about a year ago or so now.
Oh, was that the Hoff? Was that the Hoff?
I think so.
The Galax Hoff or Hall of Fame top tier graphics card.
That was pretty cool.
Designed to compete with the ROG Strix and stuff. So, alrighty. So we're not gonna need all of the. Oops, sorry. We're not gonna need all of the gaming sort of software. However, I'll still install all the diagnostic software and like things like Google Chrome, Microsoft Office 365, those sort of things that like everyone wants on their computer.
It's not coming through.
What's not coming through?
What you're doing.
Oh, it's the fucking AMD GPU. Sorry everyone, just hold off. I'm not actually, the stream's not ending, so just stay there. If YouTube interrupts, come over to Facebook. This is the HDCP, high definition content protection. Yes, it's got it. There we go. Sorry about that. Don't worry, that's changing the output. Alrighty, so everyone should be back with us now. Is YouTube still going? Sometimes YouTube cuts out first.
YouTube's fine.
Yeah, still going? Yep, sweet. Okay, let's keep going. So CPU, hang on. No, I didn't install any of that other software. So CPU-Z, this is diagnostic software and information software that will tell you about your CPU. As you can see how quickly these things install, they don't take up any considerable space. That's why I install them on pretty much everyone's computer. Because if they have a problem, then they've got somewhere that they can check. And if they call me with a problem, I might ask them to go and check on one of these apps. So that's why I install them. If they were like clunky apps that slowed your computer down and took up heaps of room, or I wouldn't install them. These things, they have no auto run feature. You can only go into them by manually opening them. They're not designed to be on all the time. They're only designed to turn on when you want to know something. No. We don't need Firmark. We're not going to be using that for a stress test. It's not going to be necessary. G-force is unneeded. Hardware monitor, yes. Very important app. If you're going to install any of these 4 that you see so far, hardware monitor's the absolutely essential one. The other ones are sort of information. Crystal disk info is a little bit more than just that, because it'll tell you if there's a fundamental problem with your hard drive or SSD. Usually, some of them. Some problems, it'll just be fucked and you won't get any reading from it. Alright? No Intel, no MSI Afterburner needed, none of that. Office 365, VLC media player, Swiss Army knife of media players. If the video file you're trying to play won't play in VLC, I can be pretty much assured that it's a virus or something else that's being disguised as a video. No, that's about all. That's about all we need.
She's eating all the nuggets that are on the floor, Tim.
Oh.
So I didn't give her any tonight. I just gave her roots. And that's it. She's such a picky fucking dog. We got a fussy ass cat and a fussy ass dog. Tim?
Yeah.
George says, hey Tim, does the CPU case come in that limited edition case that I've seen before? I think it was in the past list on the invoice. Nicest white piece mixed case.
Oh, what? You mean like this thing? This is what you're talking about? Yeah, you can have one of them. Alrighty, so that's all coming along. Office is nearly done. Alrighty. So come along. I'll do a BIOS update on this board as well. BIOS. feel like I already have that one.
Joyce says, yeah, that's the one. Babe.
Yeah. Thought it was there. Alrighty. All our Windows apps are updated. Everything else here is ready for a restart. So we're pretty much wrapped up with this one because it's pretty basic PC. No graphics card. We'll do a stress test on it just so it heats up for once. So if it's going to fail, hopefully it fails while I've got it because then it's easy to fix. So we'll do the BIOS update because the BIOS update will make sure that everything on our motherboard is in on the right setting for Windows 11, so you don't have to worry if you want to upgrade to Windows 11. It's a free upgrade, you can do it from within Windows. Alrighty, so grab Q-Flash, go BIOS. Yes, yeah, looks like it, 15C. So doing an update on the BIOS is kind of risky, so if you don't have an uninterruptible power supply, a UPS, it's not recommended. If you're in Brisbane, you can bring your PC in here and I'll do a BIOS update for you. It's not a big deal. I think I'm getting sick for like the first time in fucking 2 years. Believe it or not. Didn't get sick once during COVID. Never had to get a COVID test. Never any of that.
Oh, you're so fucking lucky. I had one of the ones where it literally touched your brain. Yeah. I'm
Oh,
so
that
glad
wasn't
they
COVID
changed-
though.
Yeah, it was. That was a COVID test I had.
Wasn't that one ages ago? When
No, I've had two. You took me to it. It's down at Marie. Do you not remember that?
Oh
Obviously not.
yes, I do. I blocked it out of my mind because going to line up in the freaking car for one of those COVID tests is like the last thing that my brain wants to like remember and reminisce on later on.
Yeah, no, that was shit. I'm so glad they changed the testing where it actually doesn't touch your brain anymore. But yeah, it's still shit. When we go back to work now, if you've had COVID, you need to wear a mask for a week.
Oh, true.
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Nearly done the BIOS update.
So cute.
She looks like Munchie.
I didn't see it at first, as soon as you said it, oh god. It's Munch. Oh.
Just like a slightly longer face,
Yeah.
but like very similar.
Eyes.
Yeah.
I love that dress. It's so cute. Meow, shut up. That's enough. She also looks like Peppa. Judy Bird.
And we can confirm that we're definitely 100% all good for a Windows 11 upgrade down the track if Dave wants to. We can install the PC Health Check app, which is some bullshit little app from Windows.
Aww.
basically it'll show up like this, and you can just click check now, and it will come up and tell you yes or no. Can you just upgrade to Windows 11 right now? That should be all up to date and all looking good. Excellent. Alrighty. So you can see our Wi-Fi there, receiving reception from the other networks.
So,
Yep.
I don't think you'll know this, but Fiona wants to know, do you know why new egg postage is so expensive when it says shipped in Australia?
Newegg.
Yeah.
Newegg. Well, Newegg's based in the United States. So you're gonna be paying freaking shipping and taxes and all that kind of stuff. While Newegg, you might see that online as somewhere recommended to go shop for places. If you're in the Australian market, you're probably going to be better off with some of the big Australian retailers, because we've got places like Scorptech, M-Wave, Umart, PLE, these big main PC part places. These will probably end up being cheaper for you than trying to get stuff from overseas. If Newegg's opened up some sort of Australian operation, I'm not currently aware of it, just FYI. But like any massive online retailer, yeah, at that stage, they'll just sell to everyone all around the world. They've got a big enough name. I don't care if it's cost effective or not. It's the end user's fault. So we'll just make sure all of the correct and up-to-date drivers for our motherboard and associated things are installed. All of our Windows drivers and bits and pieces have been installed. It should have installed most of the stuff we're going to install here, but we'll get the latest version from Gigabyte's website just to be thorough, right? Yeah, so the only things it's got an update on is the audio, LAN, and Bluetooth driver, and then it's the software that comes with your motherboard. I won't install any of these third-party apps here, just the stuff that comes on the CD with your motherboard. And yes. Then other than that, everything's looking pretty good. I can go and give it a bit of a torture test, make everything heat up at least once before you get it, and if it's still all good and doesn't stuff out on us, then yeah, you've probably got a high chance of everything being all good for you. As high a chance as I can ensure before I give it to you. Remember that most people don't have any, like they get a PC and then they don't have any problems with it. That's the norm. So if something goes wrong for you, you're one of those anomaly cases that, like, despite the best efforts of the companies usually to try to avoid that, there will be some problems. That's why there's warranties and blah 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 blah.
Oh, no way.
Alrighty, there it is, our Ryzen 5600G.
It's cheap as. It's a 3-bedroom home with 1 bathroom, $420. So I'm just thinking,
Alrighty, so we can stress out our CPU there. And so we can just let that do its thing. You see, the GPU isn't really used heavily for it does a little bit of video encoding work and stuff when you're running a stream, but it's not the same as rendering a game. That's a much more intensive workload for a graphics card. So you don't need too much if you're just running OBS studios for running some webcams and stuff like that. Alrighty, that's all sorted. Excellent. Well, I know it seems a little bit short, but that's pretty much all she wrote. I'm just gonna let this stress here for a while. Just make sure everything gets nice and warm inside the case, and yeah, let it heat up, and then I'll cool down and I'll turn it on again tomorrow, make sure it works, and then it's ready for collection. Yeah.
Jules says Sculptec is my choice, but my UPS to 30-inch 4K monitors, HTC.
Yeah. Yeah. In Australia, you're better off Sculptec, UMart, PLE, UMart, all of those.
Mooney.
Sorry, Sculptec, M-Wave, UMart, and PLE. You can tell I'm getting tired, right? But yeah, I know what I'm talking about, the big four. So yeah, hit them up. You'll end up finding cheaper parts because you won't have to pay any excessive shipping costs from these guys. It'll just be really cheap for, you know, like you want a graphics card delivered from one of them. It's probably going to cost you like $10 delivery. It's not in the scale of a graphics card. It's absolutely insignificant. So you just get that. It'd probably be cheaper. Not saying you can't get good deals on Newegg, even if you live in Australia. I'm just saying that overall, you'll find cheaper parts and it'll be easier. If something goes wrong, you got to send it back to the company you bought it from. That's the biggest problem, right? So that's why you want to deal with someone local, and that's why if you don't have a lot of time to deal with all your own PC problems and stuff like that, it makes sense to go buy your PC through me. Because then if you have a problem, you can just bring it back. It's nice and easy. Especially if you live in Brisbane here with me, you can just bring your computer back if there's a problem. Nice and simple, and you don't have to waste your valuable time fucking around with that problem. So that makes a lot of sense. So sometimes you can save money by building your own, but have you really saved money? Have you really saved money if you have to go and do all the work yourself and then whenever you have a problem, you have to go and work out what that problem is, and go and send the parts back yourself and get all that sorted. That's painful. I'm a business. I'm set up ready to send parts back, and the companies that I send parts back to, you know, they're going to see a Tim's PC card come through and they're going to go, oh, this guy's checked it out. This isn't like an ordinary customer. He hasn't sent it back if it still works, because he's already doing more than what he'd want to be doing with this graphics card anyway. So yeah, sometimes it makes it a lot easier for you. And if you're going to spend a lot of money on a PC, my fee's not even the biggest part of the price. So yeah. Alrighty, how's that looking? How's our temperatures looking? 77, 85, 80 degrees there, maximum. Yeah, so that's looking pretty good. So a CPU, they can get up to 95 degrees before they start to like cut themselves back to stop themselves catching fire. So as long as you're like within 10% of that, so you know, up to 85, then that's not a problem. The other thing is we've just got the absolute bare minimum CPU cooler on here as well. This is the absolute bare minimum, and if you were gaming, I'd normally put a better cooler with a CPU like this, just so you know it behaves itself better under load and stuff like that. But if you're just using it for Windows-based apps and stuff like that, that's what this cooler's designed for, right? Okay, well, I think I might leave it there, because I'm going to run out of things to say pretty rapidly with regards to this. I've actually spoken quite a bit tonight about a whole heap of shit, so alrighty. So thanks everyone for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all in the next video.